Gallagher about the Senate run, he told the Journal Sentinel, "I think Mike Gallagher should run." Later noting Gallagher's more than $3 billion in cash on hand and new chairmanship of the Select Committee on China, he'd be a good candidate, says Tiffany. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. Yeah, but you still think you'd be the best one, don't you, Tom? Here's a little bit more. Democrats were quick to criticize Tiffany, calling him exactly the type of radical candidate the Republican base will nominate and then go on to lose a general election. Yes, don't say that part out loud. Let him run. Let him run. That's what we want to see play out, is it not? Here's another one. Tom Tiffany is an election-denying, anti-abortion extremist who wants to take away our health care, our Medicare, and our Social Security, said Eric Volk, Rapid Response Director for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Senate race is likely to be amongst the most closely watched in the country. Democrats will attempt to maintain a slim majority, hold serve. Still, Baldwin is a formidable opponent and a proven front raiser. She reported raising just over $2.1 million in the first 3 quarters of 23. That's an off year, folks. $2.1 million in the first 3 months of 2023. That's a lot of money. She's got almost $4 million cash on hand at the end of last month. Tiffany, Toxic Tom, $336,000 in the war chest. That ain't all about money, but it helps. Right, Dan Kelly? It would help. 844. Well, Toxic Tom would have to look to, third-party spending, perhaps billionaire Ulines to support his candidacy. Gary from Sussex. Welcome back, Gary. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I got a question. Actually, there's 2 comments I want to make, right?
Can you talk louder?
One of them, can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay. Does that sound better or not?
I turned up my headphones, Gary. I know you're getting old, man, but I'm getting deaf, so you go.
Okay. I just want to mention, when we were kids, you go out and play during the daytime and stuff like that, and, there'd be sort of gangs, but 1 or 2 guys that kind of pick on other kids and stuff like that. But I want to know, what do you think about what's going on with all these young people getting in these 300 people gangs or 30 people gangs, and they're going into stores and just stealing things and just taking it.
Gary, interesting you should ask me that. I was actually on a Fox News panel, and I got posed that very same question. And first and foremost, from the perspective that they somehow wanted to pile that on Joe Biden, which I suspect is what you're trying to do, Gary. How's it?
No, absolutely not. I just want to know whatever happened to the morals of the kids of today when they can just go in there and just start beating up the living daylights out of people, like in New York, this black young man and his white girlfriend just got plummeted by a gang of about 20 people. They're lucky they weren't killed. And then they go into these the gas stations and just take whatever they want.
It was effectively hooliganism, Gary, and I certainly am not going to defend it. I don't know what precipitated it. I had seen some passing news reports. I got to be honest with you, Gary. I wasn't watching every news like I normally do over the last 3-4 days. I was working in Vegas, if you know what I'm saying, Gary. But yeah. What's your opinion, Gary? I mean, just the kids today. What are we going to do about it? Or
no, it's what's happening. It doesn't happen out in Waukesha, and you know that. You got your studio out there. This stuff doesn't happen. It happens in large cities that are probably run by Democrats and have Democratic attorney generals, or
Gary, I'm going to cut you short there, because last time I was put on the Fox News panel and I had to deal with this, it was an attempt, I think, in no small part, by Fox News to turn the page from the bad policies, the bad stuff happening. I would say, Gary, they don't want to talk about what just happened, the big settlement with Dominion Software. And I strongly suspect most of this is being precipitated by your viewership of Fox News. Come back, more Devils.
I'm just texting him back. I'm just posting a story. I'm just changing the song. I'm just...
No.
When it comes to distracted driving, just don't. Sending a text takes your eyes off the road for just 5 seconds, but in that time, your car can travel the length of an entire football field. Any distracted driving just isn't worth it.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Courage. I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand.
Learn about adopting a team from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Jake from Milwaukee, you get the last word this hour.
Okay, well, Trump is totally innocent. But it's obvious that George Soros, Nancy Pelosi, BLM with Antifa, and then Hillary's emails, Hunter Biden's laptop, gas, high, Afghanistan, cut and run. I rest my case, Cruz.
What about Benghazi, Jake? You forgot Benghazi.
I forgot Benghazi. I'm sorry. And Benghazi, I rest my case.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Weather in a Moment is brought to you by Chad's Design Build, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. Reach out today by going to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more. Again, that's chadsdesignbuild.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. My little buddy Dominic joins me for 420. I guess that's tomorrow, right? It'll be Friday Eve up in here. Today is Hump Day. Feels like Monday because I've been in Vegas and then traveling back. And Dom's traveling back from Europe. Just arrived home and back on the air tomorrow. Gary, I'm talking about Tom Tiffany, a senatorial candidate. And somehow you're fishing in the weeds for me to comment on some, band of roving teens that I had seen in the coverage. I was aware, and I did see some article about that particular couple that were accosted by this gang of teens. Now, they didn't seem specifically worse for wear in the photo I saw. It wasn't like they were bloodied to a pulp and taken to a hospital. I'm not saying that somehow negates what happened to them, Gary. I'm just saying it wasn't like it was a near-death experience. I'm sure it was quite scary, though. But I'm not quite sure why every time I turn around, and I do know why. It's because Fox News Digital and every single descriptor, if it's a city that is run by a Democratic mayor, that its crime is rampant in blue-run Democratic city. Doesn't matter if that city's any Republican state, doesn't matter if the crime rates are higher specifically in different, let's say, Republican run cities in Republican states. And in fact, a lot of this is stemming from the accusations that the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, he's got this spiraling crime rate and this high murder rate. And factually, Gary, it's not really that true. So I cannot tell you what precipitated those crazy ass kids running the streets and doing wild ass stuff. And I'm sure in this day and age of video cameras and social media postings, much like many of the insurrectionists that were violent were arrested after the fact for their actions on January 6th, I suspect many of these dumbass kids will get arrested too. But Gary, this may surprise you. I actually pulled up the crime rates for the great state of Wisconsin, my beloved state of Wisconsin. The highest crime rate in the state of Wisconsin, Gary, is not Milwaukee. It's Platteville. Did you know that, Gary? Platteville, the most criminal city, in violent crimes in terms of occurrence per thousand, 28.31 per thousand. Now, this is population.u.com that I am quoting here. Number 2 is Milwaukee. Of course, they're vastly different cities in the terms of number of people. Number three in the state of Wisconsin, according to NIBRS, violent crime in the United States is most likely to be committed in urban areas. Well, Gary, what do you know? A lot of urban areas have Democratic mayors. But here in the state of Wisconsin, the number 3 crime city, Rice Lake. Would you have guessed Rice Lake? How about number 4, Beloit? Maybe, because, it's down there closer to Chicago, right, Gary? And then Sheboygan there, hey. Sheboygan is number 5 in the state of Wisconsin for crime. Then it's number 6, God's Country, my alma mater, or at least the city where I attended college, La Crosse, Wisconsin. Appleton, lovely Appletown, 7th in crime in the state of Wisconsin. Sparta's got a military base right up the road, Fort McCoy. I served there. Number 8 in crime in the great state of Wisconsin. Number 9, Superior. When in doubt, go commit crimes at Stout. And number 10 on the top 10 list of population/crimes and violent crimes here in the state of Wisconsin, occurrence per 1,000, number 10 in criminal conduct, Titletown, Green Bay, 844-967-2789. I wanted to actually talk about Tammy Baldwin. I think she could be unbeatable, but I'll talk with you fine folks at 844-967-2789. Joanne from Madison, welcome. How are you?
Hey, great show. I just wanted to tell everybody about the city of Chicago back in the 1950s and the 1960s when I grew up there. We used to have these little mini riots with young people who were whiter than white. We're talking Germans, we're talking Norwegians. The young people would get together in gangs and maybe bust open a church. In the case of the one on my block, the kids ran through the alley with screaming and yelling and all that, busted up the church. We cleaned up the church afterward and all that. And my dad would say, hey, you got to do that once in your life. You do it and it's over. Except it's not that way with the way we treat young black individuals. We say that there's something wrong with them and all of that, whereas it's part of growing up for people, and it always has been. And these moral panics that Fox News gins up are just reprehensible. So thank you for that list of statistics, and I'm staying out of Platteville. Whoa! Thank you.
Who knew Platteville, Wisconsin is the highest crime per 1,000 in the state of Wisconsin? Greater violent crime rate than Milwaukee has in number per 1,000.
Hang on your wallet.
28 plus per 1,000 people in the community. And it's interesting, as I was Googling around looking for some answers, Joanne, because, I want to respond to people where they're at. Gary wanted to throw this out there. Gary, was hearkening back to the good old days. The good old days being what? The 50s, the 60s. Hell, I grew up, I was a kid in the 70s. I found this article from St. Louis University's Law Journal, published in 2011. When gangs were white, race rights in the youth crime in New York City, 1954 to 1964. So back in the good old days, you might be shocked to learn, Gary, there were gangs. It was just white kids running through the streets being the hooligans. And there were probably less of them armed with AR-15s. 844-967-2789. There's a friend, Mike from Sheboygan there. Hey, in the top 10 for crime in the state of Wisconsin, Mike. Better be careful.
Hey, thank you for that list. Piece of sanity for all the trolling that's going on out there. Yeah, in the land of Glenn Grothman, Terry Katzma, and Mr. LeMahieu, split in half right down the middle, Sheboygan, Chevegas, number 5 on your list of shame. There's a very nasty radio spot out there by some jackhole from Manitowoc saying how he's afraid to go down to Milwaukee and Chicago. Be my guest. One more parking spot for me when I go to a Bucks game. This is just so classic public trolling, and they're only appealing to the ignorance. The same guys who probably don't visit, a Mexican restaurant down here on Indiana, which, by the way, is a split line for the gerrymandered city of Sheboygan. I don't know what to say, but that list, I'm going to open up my old-fashioned right now.
Well played, sir. Say hi to Annalise. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, a Hump Day edition. You can be a part. 844-967-2789.
Download the Civic Media app now so you can listen to this brilliance anywhere, anytime. Brilliant! Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Morgan Norwood. The Supreme Court has temporarily extended access to the abortion drug mifepristone. ABC's Devin Dwyer has been watching this case.
This is an extension of the status quo by the Supreme Court, what's called an administrative stay, just for 2 more days to Friday, April 21st. And that suggests to me that at least one or more of the justices on either side of this are looking to write a dissent. There might be multiple opinions or takes on why, whatever the court has decided to do, which will be revealed presumably on Friday.
The Biden administration and the drug maker have argued changes to the drug, which has been in use for more than 2 decades and deemed safe by the FDA, would create chaos and regulatory uncertainty for everyone, from states to millions of women. The 84-year-old Kansas City homeowner accused of shooting a black 16-year-old who accidentally showed up at the wrong address entered a plea of not guilty to 2 felonies. The teen is recovering from gunshot wounds. This is ABC News.
You can't handle the truth.
We're here to dispute that. You can handle the truth. Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair. Here's what you need to know. Wisconsin is one step closer to faster testing of sexual assault kits. A bill that passed the state assembly yesterday requires the state crime lab start processing kits within 5 days of getting them and take no longer than 2 months to complete the work. The timeline would apply in cases where the perpetrator is unknown and to suspicious death investigations. Faster testing for sexual assault kits has been a priority since a backlog of thousands of untested kits were found in 2014. Wisconsin U.S. Senator Ron Johnson told Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on Tuesday he should resign over the situation at the U.S.-Mexican border. Mayorkas said America's immigration and asylum systems are broken, and he's hopeful Congress will do something to fix them. The exchange came during a hearing on the Department of Homeland Security's budget request. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News.
Civic Media promised you something big to celebrate our new and still growing network of radio stations. When we announced the one-day $1 million advertising giveaway for Wisconsin businesses, you responded.
I just wanted to echo your sentiments about the advertising. That's really a cool deal and really remarkable.
$1 million of free advertising. Now, if you missed this chance to work with our team, go to civicmedia.us and click on the sponsorship tab. One of our local sales pros will get right back to you. civicmedia.us and sponsorship.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Hey, this is Corey Bank at Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX. At Civic Media, we love our local communities and want to share your stories. Submit your local event and we'll let our listeners know. Email me at corey.bank@civicmedia.us.
Attention 420 friends. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes is celebrating this 420 with a massive extravaganza with special guests Cheech and Chong.
Just kidding.
But there will be a special 420 discount of up to 75% off any item in the store, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're doing a free giveaway at 4:20 p.m. on 420 for a chance to win a Puffco Peak. They'll even have free subs and munchies courtesy of Chiba Hut. So stop on in to their Madison and Milwaukee locations, 550 State Street in Madison, 2949 North Oakland in Milwaukee for an unforgettable time. When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition, the 420 Eve edition. And I'll be out celebrating the holiday, if you will, down at Knuckleheads on State Street tomorrow. I'm going to start the show. You know, we just moved. We're kind of neighborly now with Knuckleheads right there on State Street. We're on the 200 block. I am broadcasting today from the University Studios, but tomorrow, buddy, I'm taking the Comrex uptown. I'm doing it from the new studios for the first time. I'm breaking them in, even if they're not engineered. I got the means. I got the means of doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it tomorrow. Real quick, and I see you callers, and we're going to get there next. 844-967-2789. I meant And I've been trying to talk about the presumed, and I would call her the front runner, Tammy Baldwin. She's the only candidate for the U.S. Senate race. And, if you think about it, everybody wanted a piece of Ron Johnson's ass, right? Tom Nelson jumped into the race before the presidential was over. He was already running in the 2022 race. And here we are, we're what? I grant you over a year out, but this far out, usually there'd be some candidates in the race. But perhaps, I know Tom Tiffany's buying some websites, loser Tom for Senate or something, because if he goes up against her, he's going to lose. Tammy Baldwin in her political career, and you can call her a career politician, but she's 15-0, baby. She's never lost. Tammy Baldwin is effectively the unbeatable candidate at this point in her career. And I defy you to think that Tom Tiffany is going to beat her. But here's a little bit from the Cap Times, our friend John Nichols, from the body of the piece. Baldwin won her first election campaign for Dane County board seat as a 24-year-old law student representing a UW-Madison campus area district. That was 1986. She was reelected in 88, 90, and 92. In the fall of 92, she was elected to the state assembly and reelected in 94 and 96. She was elected to Congress in 98. She was reelected in 2000, 02, 04, 06, 08, and 10. And then she was elected to the U.S. Senate in 2012 and 2018. Let's not forget, in 2012, she beat Tommy Thompson. It's not like she was going up against a pushover. She was the underdog in that race. She, according to John Nichols, has mounted more than 15 campaigns at local, state, and federal levels of American politics, and she has prevailed every time. And often she has faced uphill contests against better known and more politically connected rivals. You ain't going to beat her, Tom. Not you, anyways, fella. 844-967-2789. Vicky from Burlington. Welcome, Vicky. What do you got for us?
Hello, Crutey. Is Senator Baldwin on or not? Not yet.
Not today. We've had her on with occasional frequency, but not today.
All right. Well, thank you, and I love her. She is the most positive, most productive senator, in my opinion, in America. And I was going to talk. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say the one thing is. She's a bit of a workhorse, not a show horse, if you know what I'm saying. She just gets to the business. And John Nichols mentions this in his piece. I'm not going to read it all to you, Vicky. But she just goes to the work of governing for her constituents. And when you compare her sort of quiet governance with the actions of all these Republicans that say, look at me, who can outrage the next guy and raise more, political capital and get more appearances on Fox News. When an actual person that cares about their constituents runs for re-election, Vicky, at least in the embodiment of Senator Tammy Baldwin, she's going to win in a landslide, at least if Tom Tiffany's her opponent.
100%. And just like you said, because she does the work. She's not a showboat like Rojo. Where is Rojo these days? Like, we haven't heard from him since whatever he was doing.
Rojo's newest is to tell Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, that he should resign. And I'm thinking someone should whip that back on Rojo and say, sir, you were involved in the insurrection of the January 6th. You were on the inside of the coup. Sir, you should consider resigning. But anyways, I would have answered the question differently if I were Mayorkas.
Well, you're not wrong. And also, Rojo worked until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock to get the permanent tax cut for LLCs for himself and his donors,
yes,
which
ma'am.
expired for us, the regular people, in January of 2022. How convenient, but remain permanent for Rojo. He's somewhere counting his money. But I'm not even going to talk about Republicans because they're so depressing and with no ideas and void of respect, class, or anything. I wanted to say, first of all, for the rest of the week, without embarrassing Jean, is she from Eau Claire? Jean from Eau Claire.
Yes, ma'am. I know who she is.
Her. She is a fighter. She never stops. When she keeps calling, and people are probably like, oh, here comes Jean. Well, you know what? here comes Jean. As a younger person, a Gen Z, I tell you what, there is nothing I learned more than from a woman with wisdom and experience. So here's to Jean. Finally, I've got to congratulate you again. You, Dom, your team, you have done the damn thing. And I just trust you implicitly and thank you for what you've done. Okay?
Very, very kind words, Vicky. How'd you find Civic Media? And I assume you might be listening on WAUK 540 AM. How'd you find us, Vicky?
Well, I live in Burlington, Wisconsin. I am a regular Patreon donor, and I've
wonderful.
listened to you on Devil Radio online for a long, long time. And I was worried. Like, when you guys expanded, I'm like, oh, my God, are they going to become right? You haven't. Like, you're fair, but you're honest. And I said from the beginning, I trust you completely, Crutey, because you're on the side of right. And so as Dom and Evan, your whole team, what you've done here is unprecedented from what I've seen in Wisconsin. So, God damn, Crutey, thank you.
Well,
Okay?
thank you, Vicky. Very kind. 844-967-2789. Man, could someone say nice stuff like that about me in front of my wife sometime? Because she doesn't always feel that I'm right, if you know what I'm saying. 844-967-2789. Many of you probably share her opinion, but that was very kind, Vicky. Mark from the hospital. Mark, you okay, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay, and thanks to Vicky there. Welcome. And I've been promoting you guys with my healthcare professionals that have been taking care of me at these facilities. And it's toxic. It's not only toxic, Tom Tiffany. It's treasonous, Tom Tiffany, because he was fully in support of all these fools that were in the insurrectionists. And I think under the 14th Amendment, I think that precludes him from serving in public office as well.
I know you're hoping to get rid of all of them using the 14th Amendment, Mark, and I know that the impetus behind the 14th Amendment would support your opinion, but I think we know from prior federal lawsuits and different acts, who was the guy in, someone went after Marjorie Taylor Greene and James Bopp was her attorney, and someone, the outgoing guy, the crazy guy down in North Carolina, Madison Cawthorn or whatever the case. And of course, we know that our friend Kirk Bangstead and his Minocqua Brewing Company super PAC went and tried to keep Rojo off the ballot. And unfortunately, I think it's premature. I think there would have to be a conviction, Mark, before we would ever be able to use the 14th Amendment against any, congressperson. There's a presumption the voters will sort it out.
And my contention there is that my read of the 14th Amendment is it does not require a conviction, and but we need to publicize it. That this is what it says. This is a document those guys all took an oath to, and they invoked God in the process. Whether you believe in God or not, these guys actually supposedly take this stuff seriously. And I mean, it just is. It's that they have to be challenged on each and every time they show their face.
Well, Mark, I'd rather
why
see
did you do this.
I'd rather see criminal charges, and I do appreciate you listening, Mark, and please be well and spread the good news. All the nice nurses need to know the devil's advocates exist out here. Mark, there's a lot of callers, and I'm going to try to keep moving down the line. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't give you enough time today, but 844-967-2789. Ross from Soldiers Grove. Ross, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Crutey, WRCE order. Thank you, along with the other people are thanking you for expanding civic media. I mean, it's a godsend out here in our area. But so the thing, kind of playing off whatchamacallit from Sussex, Gary or whatever it was, where here's Gary worried about crime in New York or Chicago or wherever the heck it was. And when I drive around my neighborhood out here in the country, I see a lot of these country people with these signs that say "Back the Blue," and I think to myself, out here the cops don't wear blue; they're sheriffs. They wear brown. So it's sort of this people that live on the outside watching too much TV, worrying about crime in areas that they don't live in. And it's just this. I kind of wish that it's that if they didn't if they just worried about their own backyard. I'm not saying that we got to work together on these issues, but they always seem to be worried about what's happening in the cities. And the cities where, the cities are growing. We got growing pains. It's where the jobs are. It's expensive, but it's always kind of weird when I see these back to blue signs out in the country.
You know what was interesting, Ross? I was doing a little, business research at a marijuana dispensary in Las Vegas this weekend, Planet 13th, largest dispensary in the world. And I saw a guy, and he was wearing a Back the Badge T-shirt, and he was shopping in a marijuana dispensary. And I asked him,
I'm telling you.
you consuming? And he said, no, I'm not allowed to with the job. He said, but I wish I could.
Yeah, right.
And I'm thinking,
Yeah,
you'd be a lot cooler if you did. But
no kidding. Right.
Ross, it was funny because, here we are, two tourists in a different town. And, he's being a little confessional to me, this cop. He was telling me, hey, I'd smoke it too, but my wife loves the gummies. Clearly he didn't have any issue with one of our pet peeves, that we live in a prohibitionist state. But you realize, right, Ross, it was Scott Walker most prevalently that pitted the rural against the city folk.
Yep.
And it worked to his advantage. He won the recall election with a bunch of people that didn't typically vote outstate, these low propensity voters. He awoke sort of a sleeping giant. And in no small part, that's a reason why guys like Tom Tiffany, run up there with impunity in the 7th. Gallagher didn't have an opponent, I believe. And I'm not sure that Glenn Grothman had one in the last cycle. Like 2 of those 3 Congress people didn't even have opponents run. Well, hell, Tiffany could run for Senate and theoretically run for Congress. If the Democrats can't run a capable opponent, he could lose to Baldwin and still retain his seat.
Right. Yeah. Gerrymandered. Right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Ross, man, I'm glad you're listening on WRCE. Shout out to our friends down there. We love Phil D especially. He's our boss down in the local zone. And 844-967-2789. WRCE, News from the Center, 1450 AM and 107.7 FM. If you're out in the Richland Center area, tell your friends. Good radio. Dick from Madison, welcome. What do you got for us, Dick? Hey, Dick.
Hello.
Come on, man. Sorry. You're on the clock, dude. We got like a minute and a half till break.
I'm going to try and make you feel a little better about yesterday. I feel the same way as far as the
Dominion
thing with Dominion. Yeah. First of all, breaking news is that Jack Smith is calling Boris Epstein tomorrow, Trump's former attorney and advisor. And that should make you feel a little better.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
2, the situation is, it is slightly similar to pleading the 5th when you settle out of court. Think about it. You're a bunch admitting you do not want to go in front of a, jury of your peers when you do that. So, I mean, I know it doesn't make me feel that good, but it has been brought up, and it's kind of true in my mind too when you think about it.
Well, Dick, the value of Dominion software is 1/10 of the settlement. The whole company's only valued at $70 million. The settlement's almost $800 million. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
Women get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
I am not Alex Jones.
But you play him on the radio.
And we are back. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you don't call us right down this last segment at 844-967-2789, you're a filthy communist and you are supporting the enemy.
That's a reasonable impersonation of Alex.
All right.
But,
I got to work on it.
You lack the proper intensity. It's got to be more angry.
I need to be a little bit closer to a heart attack.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Women get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Overcast skies tonight with scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows dip down to about 41. East winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Overcast tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms likely, highs around 65. Tomorrow night, lows around 38. Upper 50s Friday, mid 40s Saturday, with a chance for scattered showers. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 45 degrees.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Wednesday edition. Lots of great callers today. You could be one of them, unless you're CJ. You're never a great caller, CJ. 844-967-2789. Kind of got off track. It's a bit off track the entire hour. I thought Don was joining me today. Apparently, he's off track as well. We both had delayed flights. So anyways, we appreciate the audience bearing with as we schlock it together with duct tape and baling wire and your fine calls, and we call it the greatest radio show ever. But I wanted to tell a story. I went to a Katy Perry concert this Saturday night, and I got to be quite honest. I had a hell of a good time. And it wasn't because of the performing artist, although I thought she was very talented and showed a lot of personality. I never would have guessed that I was going to have such a great time at a Katy Perry concert. And here's why. A relatively intimate venue, like 5,000 people. She's in residency at the, the Encore Hotel, something like that in Vegas. It was a fun show, nice theater. We had pretty good seats, Dad stepped up a little bit. I snuck my wife off to Vegas with me. I was there for business. She was there to keep me company. And she wanted to go to Katy Perry. So I bought the tickets and we got decent seats. And that is the funnest concert crowd I have ever been in, ever. And she called a lot of them her Katy cats. There were some younger people there. I was surprised at the number of kids there, including Kanye West's kid was there. She got pulled up on the stage, apparently something of an influencer, her and a couple of her girlfriends. And some other young lady from the audience did a little dance-off. They did a dance-off and then ate pizza on stage. Kind of cool. But the crowd itself was full of young people that were sort of celebrating the fact that they were gay. And they were proud. And, being in this Katy Perry concert gave them sort of a safe zone, a place where they could represent, feel good about themselves. And the costumes and the outfits and the wigs that people wore at that concert, that is the funnest crowd. And I mean, I'm talking little people to old people. There's a guy sitting down the row from me. This guy had to be late 70s wearing this super cool sequin coat. And I'm like, man, this guy's partying. This guy's got it going on. And Katy Perry basically encourages, and she sang that song, I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. She did sing that song on this evening, Saturday night as well. And some of the dialogue she had with the audience was basically, it's okay to be you. And, I contrast this. I'm looking at this audience and this wonderful love-filled audience, and they were singing every word and dancing on every song. And I knew about half the songs. I had a good time for an old dude that looks like somebody's stepdad. And I compare that. My most recent trip prior to Las Vegas was Florida. I went down to Florida, and that's where Ron DeSantis, the governor down there, soon to be presidential candidate, is extending the Don't Say Gay. I don't know if you realize they had this Don't Say Gay bill, which precipitated his entire battle with Disney. And now the ban on talking about sexuality in the schools was through third grade. Not anymore. Now they're just banning any conversation about human sexuality in the schools. Because, sex doesn't exist if you don't talk about it. Ask anyone in Vegas. Here's the headline in the Washington Post. Florida bans teaching about gender identity in all public schools. It expands an existing ban. Experts say it imperils free speech and could affect curriculums in English, history, and other classes. Katy Perry, and I hate to hold her up as a role model of some sort, but, it was a pretty compelling argument she made for, loving these kids as they are. Because they don't have any option in who they are. They were born this way. And they are this way. And not talking about it or banning the talking about it basically makes these kids targets. And we all know, I grew up in the 1970s, 1980s, man. The common thing you would call a male friend was a derisive name for a gay man. Everybody said that. Kids would call each other that with constancy, at least in my little twisted peer group. That was common vernacular when I was a kid. And I'd like to think that our society, I know Gary's still hearkening back for the days when it was the white gangs of New York roaming the streets, but I'd like to think that we've advanced as a society a little bit, right? A woman like Tammy Baldwin, an openly gay U.S. senator, can win landslide re-elections electorally in the state of Wisconsin. But currently, there's a governor in Florida that's taken on Disney. What, going to build a prison next to Disney? Because they had the temerity to speak out as the happiest place on earth in support of some of their gay employees and say, we don't agree with this don't say gay bill. Well, this guy wants to be our next semi-fascist president. Real quick, the Florida Board of Education has forbidden the teaching of gender identity and sexuality through all grades in K through 12 public schools. Probably by next week, the Republicans in the Wisconsin legislature will roll out a similar piece, extending a nearly year-old legislative ban on such lessons from kindergarten through third grade. That was the old ban. The new ban is universal. The board voted Wednesday to adopt a new rule that says Florida teachers in grades 4 through 12 shall not intentionally provide classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity. If you don't say it, they won't exist. Unless this instruction is required by state academic standards, it is not. Or the lessons form part of the reproductive health course from which a student's parent can opt out their child. Now, reproductive health lessons are unlikely to mention sexual orientation or gender identity, Florida Chancellor for K-12 public schools, Paul Burns, said at a meeting Wednesday. Given that abstinence is the required expectation of what we teach in our schools when it comes to health issues. So you don't talk about the gay, and you don't teach about sexuality in the human sexuality classes in Florida schools. You teach abstinence only, because that always worked out. Biblically forward, right? Teachers, according to the Washington Post, who violate the ban could see their teaching licenses suspended or revoked. Per the rule, an education department spokesman wrote in an email Wednesday that the rule will take effect about a month from now. Department spokesperson Alex Franconi wrote in a statement that the topics of gender identity and sexual orientation have no place in the classroom, and that today's state board requires reaffirms Florida's commitment to uphold parental rights and keep, here's that word again, indoctrination out of our schools. L.A. Tom, don't mean to short you. I can give you a minute, buddy.
First off, we the people are the government. We must never forget that. Second, Republicans are the pro-death party, and they're also so obsessed with our sexuality. Can you just get out of our bedroom? Can you get out of our lives in terms of your obsession over our sexuality? Really kind of sick and tired of it. I don't know why they're so obsessed, but they keep on talking about, don't say gay, but they keep talking about being gay.
I've never seen a self-confident man that gave a damn what another fella did in his bedroom. Really? I just don't know a one. Come back to Devil's Advocates, the Wednesday edition. It's 420 Eve. Happier Happy Hours coming next.
It's that time of year. Time for all the home improvement projects that need to be completed. There's that hole in the wall that needs repair. The kitchen and dining room need fresh paint. And isn't it time to finish that remodel project in the family room? Need help? 3 words. Drywall on call. New construction, remodeling, repairs, painting, residential or commercial. The team at Drywall on Call believes having it done right is always money well spent. Log on drywalloncall.com or call 608-635-6061. 608-635-6061.
Guys, let's talk about mental toughness. That grit and resilience that helps us perform at our best on the field, in the office, in life. And when life throws a curveball, we need to lean on that toughness even more. And sometimes we need a little coaching. That's where life coaching comes in, and Unbound Counseling for Men can be your coach in life. Condition your mental toughness to gain strength in life. Find out more at unboundcounselingformen.com. unboundcounselingformen.com. Don't spend life in the dugout. Get the coaching you need so you can get back.
You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. The Supreme Court extending the temporary stay on legal challenge of the abortion drug mifepristone. That comes after a Texas judge ruled to ban the FDA-approved abortion pill nationwide. High Court ordering the administration stay until this Friday. More from ABC's Terry Moran.
What the trial court, the district court judge in Amarillo, Texas, did was something almost unheard of, plowing through doctrines of the Supreme Court, overlooking precedents, merely to get to the point where he, sitting in Amarillo, could ban mifepristone for all women across America forever. And the extent of that ruling, the radical nature of it, I think really took people by surprise. The Fifth Circuit tried to fix some of it, but now it's before the Supreme Court, and they have to untangle the mess.
The White House and the mifepristone drug makers say the drug is safe. It's been used for abortions and miscarriages for more than 2 decades. The Dow slipped nearly 80 points. This is ABC News. A county commissioner in Oklahoma caught on tape allegedly talking about killing reporters and lynching black people has resigned.
The sheriff in McCurtain County has not resigned, as Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt has called for. And in fact, the sheriff's department in a post doesn't address the comments, but instead calls into question the validity of the recording and that it was recorded illegally by the newspaper reporter under Oklahoma law. The sheriff's department is indicating felony charges could be involved against those who made the recording, but doesn't address the racist comments that were made. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Russia re-entering the wartime grain deal with Ukraine. The United Nations says inspection teams are already at work. Ukraine has accused Russia of delaying inspections in the past, leading to a halt in critical grain shipments. There is a UN report that forecasts India will overtake China as the world's most populous country by the middle of this year. 250 million people in India are between the ages of 15 and 24. Andy Field, ABC News.
Looking for more local programming? Check out our website, civicmedia.us, to see our entire lineup.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Police say 2 bodies found in the Oneida County forest were those of 2 teenagers who went missing from Merrill recently. The Oneida County Sheriff says the deaths of Aiden Griefey and Dakota Brown are not considered suspicious. The sheriff says exposure was a factor and investigators are still doing their work. Governor Evers says he plans to sign a bill to increase penalties for carjacking in Wisconsin to up to 60 years in prison. The bill has bipartisan support, but some Democrats complain it demonizes Milwaukee.
When we continue to hamstring local governments and continue to defund public safety, that's also part of the problem.
Representative Sylvia Ortiz-Velez of Milwaukee. In sports, the Brewers go for a sweep of Seattle today. Tonight, the Bucks try to even up their first-round playoff series against Miami. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
This is Chad Spate. In 1992, I moved to Madison to pursue a PhD at UW, and I started a residential remodeling company called Chad's Carpentry. I was eager to make a difference, to change the world, and I soon realized that our remodeling company was a great place to start. We pride ourselves on understanding how houses work so that your home improvement project actually improves your home, and we love what we do. To learn more, go to chadsdesignbuild.com, and thank you, Madison, for 30 great years.
Thanks for listening to your local Civic Media radio station. Learn more on our website, civicmedia.us.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison here. What's the best way to clean your carpet? Well, not surprisingly, it's the same way you clean your clothes. You wouldn't clean a dirty shirt by running a white cloth over the top of it, nor would you try to get it clean by sprinkling chemicals and rubbing it in. For a real clean, you need hot water, agitation, and a cleaning agent, just like your laundry. For a fresh, healthy clean with no residue, call Zero Res Madison or schedule online. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
10 years ago, we opened with a single location. We had one glass blower, that's me, and a full display of artistically created glass pipes and products. Today, you've helped us grow to 3 successful locations. Ignite Glass and Gifts thanks you for your continued support. We'll be here as long as you need us. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. 1 solid decade. Man, does that feel good.
Accidents can be life-changing, no matter how careful you are. But with Gingras Thompson and Walks, you're not alone. For decades, they've been fighting for the rights of people just like you. They'll let you focus on your recovery while they handle the legal complexities. If you or a loved one has been hurt or killed due to someone else's negligence, contact them now. You may deserve compensation.
All in to win. Gingras Thompson and Walks. GTWlawyers.com.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why listen to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of Hawk's Bar and Grill. Come to Hawk's and tell them you're there because Luke and Brian sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Mad Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of Hawks and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
Mad Radio 92.7 programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Solidarity Realty, there is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crutey.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. It's 420 Eve, don't you know? And it's the happier happy hour. And that means your calls are always welcome here. Expecting our little buddy Dominic back tomorrow on the airwaves, returned from his European vacation. And I returned today thanks to Matt Flynn from Matt Flynn Direct. Don't forget to tune him in right here at 3 o'clock on the Civic Media Network. And Matt Rothschild filling in for me ably yesterday. Batman, thank you. Find him over at the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, the vigilante group of watching the dark money and the good governance. So thank you to both the Matts. And thank you to E-Bone for lightly screening the calls. We'll get to them in just a minute. I want to talk about my utter disappointment in the settlement by Dominion. It's horrible. And the fact that they accepted the settlement, of course, is financially prudent. My understanding, this corporation was only valued at $70 million. So when you hear you're getting paid 10 times the value of your corporation in a one-time settlement, you know why I care a lot about democracy. Crutey does. And I know you do as well, because you're listening to this fine program. If you didn't care about democracy, you wouldn't listen. But you do. You care about democracy. And democracy needed a trial. We needed the trial. We need the public vetting of just how bad it is over at the Foxy News. And if you thought it was bad, let me tell you about their newest statement, because let's not forget, they're not out of the frying pan yet. Foxy News is not. There's another defamation lawsuit from Smartmatic Corporation. And the Foxy News makes a remarkable statement just one day after the massive Dominion settlement. Now, it seemed like a lot of money, but Fox News grossed $14.2 billion, I believe, last year. They paid a settlement of like $750 million. It's a lot of money for a working stiff. But I mean, hell, they were $40 million in just in paying off Bill O'Reilly's former producers and those that made accusations against the man. And he thought they were dumb. O'Reilly thought Fox News was dumb for paying off Smartmatic nearly $800 million. But here's their newest statement coming from Fox News just a day later. Fox News on Tuesday agreed to a massive $780 million settlement with Dominion Voting Systems. And now the network is acting like absolutely nothing has changed. Axios media reporter Sarah Fisher on Wednesday reported the Foxy News set out a fresh statement about its ongoing litigation with electronic voting systems company Smartmatic that shows the network relying on the same tactics used to try and diffuse the Dominion litigation. This gets me fired up. I'm sorry if I'm stumbling on my words. I get fired up. Remarkable statement from Fox to me just now in response to Smartmatic's lawyer saying they're ready to pick up where Dominion left off. Those were the most encouraging words from the next litigant, Smartmatic's lawyers. That's what they said yesterday. We're ready to pick up where Dominion left off. And here's how Fox News decided to respond today. There is nothing more newsworthy than covering the President of the United States and his lawyers making allegations of voter fraud. They're blaming the coverage as newsworthy. Complete falsehoods? It's newsworthy. That's what they're claiming. Fox said in a preview of its defense against Smartmatic's allegations, it defamed them with segments suggesting they stole the 2020 election from former President Donald Trump. Freedom of the press is foundational to our democracy. Again, this is coming from Fox News. Freedom of the press is foundational to our democracy. It must be protected. In addition to the damages claims being outrageous, unsupported, and not rooted in sound financial analysis. Well, Fox News, you just paid out $780 million, almost $1 billion, to the last people that brought a defamation suit that you defamed in a very similar fashion. So, of course, this newest statement is just, well, it's typical, right? This is the exact same defense that Fox News used in the lead up to its defamation trial with Dominion, where it eventually agreed to pay the company several times its net worth and acknowledged that it had reported false claims about the firm. Smartmatic is suing Fox News for even more money than the $1.6 billion that Dominion originally sought. Its lawyers have vowed to bring accountability to the network. I'm very much less clear that that will be the case. I'm very disappointed in this. And you know, it was supposed to be a trial. I'd had so much good material to work with. You know when it's a good idea to settle your lawsuit? When you're Fox News and some of the defense exhibits that you've presented are Simpsons clips, some from like 20 years ago. Let me read very briefly Raw Stories coverage. Fox News suggested on Tuesday that it would defend itself against defamation claims by showing a jury partial episodes of The Simpsons. When your defense are Homer Simpson and Bart, that's your defense? You're using snippets from Fox, cartoons to defend your news department? I would have settled also. Anyways, 844-967-2789. I am fired up. Dynamo Dave, how you feeling? From Duluth, sir. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Charismatic Crutey. How you doing?
Good, man. I like that one.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's stumbling,
well,
bumbling, Crutey. I got a Monday mouth on a Wednesday right now, Dynamo Dave, but I'll let you do the talking.
Yes, a couple of points I want to make. One is, how come I hope the next settlement that Fox has to do requires the people like Tucker Carlson and Bill O'Reilly, or not Bill O'Reilly, whoever that other guy is. Those people have to speak, do an apology. Each one of them, everybody on has every show on there must do an apology to the American.
There is
and to,
Dynamo Dave
whoever's
is,
ever suing them.
as I'm sure you well know, there is no contrition being offered publicly by Fox News and the Dominion settlement. They took the cash. It's a lot of cash. It's a lot of cash, Dave. But they really didn't hold Fox News accountable in a public fashion. There is no statement of guilt from Fox News.
Yeah.
And certainly there's no testimony from Rupert, Tucker, or Hannity.
Right. The evening shows were the worst, of course. And shown by the evidence based on those texts and stuff by Tucker and emails and stuff. But it's just, I don't know if we can, I think we have to change the name from Fox News to just plain Fox Propaganda.
Well, they would have to agree to it. And while I would feel it also propaganda, I don't know that they would take our suggestion. What do you think?
It's worth a try, right? Oh, anyway, no, it's like you have to, maybe you should have to have a license to be the news reporter or something, just like some other things in life require licensing.
Dave, it's strange. I am operating under FCC regulated licensing in approximately 12 different markets right now. And if I were to say something so offensive that I crossed the FCC, they could yank the licensing of our institution. And it's crazy to me, Dave. Here in the state of Wisconsin, we have 2 right-wing talk radio outfits under prior ownership, WTMJ, when it was owned by Scripps. Someone did a Zapple doctrine complaint. Someone said effectively, they're just as bad. They're effectively telling lies for fun and profit on right-wing talk radio in the state of Wisconsin. Made complaints directly to the FCC, pull their licensing. When they were up for renewal, the proper time for the public to say, hey, we object. And effectively, the FCC said, in one case, one group said, First Amendment, we can say whatever we want, which is very similar to what Fox News said, right? And the other one said, we're just entertainment. You can't possibly believe what we say is true, which I believe was also Fox News's purpose of using like Homer Simpson clips and such. Dynamo Dave, yeah, man, there was no real harm done to them. The bottom line smack to Fox News is inconsequential. They saved billions that they would have lost reputationally if they'd have gone through this trial. If Rupert Murdoch and Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson have to come out and basically say, we lie for fun and profit on TV, then the FCC, they're a cable outfit. They're not an over-the-air operator in the same way, Dave. They wouldn't lose the right to be cable news. Cable news is not regulated in the same way by the FCC, but they would lose a significant portion of their audience, and I would relish that stuff. You know what I'm saying, Dave?
Yeah. Hey, do you remember when cable television first came about and they were saying, oh, it's supposed to be a la carte where you get to choose your channels, but your fees, I think $4 of everybody's like Comcast or Xfinity fee and things like that, go back to paying to Fox News and other channels, but one like $4 goes straight to them.
Carriage fees.
So for every subscriber. Yeah, and it's like, wait a minute. I thought cable's supposed to be a la carte. So if you're a customer, you should just be able to say, I don't want that. I don't want to pay that $4 in my bill. You'd think there'd be a way for consumers to fight back in that regard.
Well, you could cut the cable, Dave, and of course you could not watch. But above and beyond that, man, I don't think you could. I can't not pay for all the channels on the cable dial that I don't like to watch.
Well, why do they call it a la carte then?
I don't know, man. You got to take that up with the cable guy. I could barely handle radio most days. Come back with us. Your phone calls are going to get us through this happy hour, the hump day edition. 420 Eve. But, you know, if you like to be preemptive, I won't hold it against you. 844-96-PARTY.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
A New York State court already suspended Giuliani's law license.
Yes.
Still a lawyer as of today. During several hours of virtual testimony on Monday and Tuesday, Giuliani pulls back the sleeve and he noted to himself, why, I'm wearing 2 watches. I mean, I've done some absent-minded things, but I've never in my life worn 2 watches.
Oh, come on, man. He's an attorney. That way you can bill twice as much.
Want even more? Go to our website, civicmedia.us.
Weather in a Moment is brought to you by Chad's Design Build, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. Reach out today by going to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more. Again, that's chadsdesignbuild.com.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Overcast skies tonight with scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows dip down to about 41. East winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Overcast tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms likely, highs around 65. Tomorrow night, lows around 38. Upper 50s Friday, mid 40s Saturday, with a chance for scattered showers. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 41 degrees.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. My utter disappointment is the settlement. Fox News, Dominion Software. And Dominic, I thought he was back today. Not till tomorrow. I hope you're not disappointed. Don't hang up on me now. 844-967-2789. Getting to you next, callers. And I didn't mean to be offensive to you, the good CJ. So if you're patient, you'll be next. But let me just say this. There might be a silver lining in the settlement. And here it is. Following Tuesday's stunning, my source, the Daily Beast. Following Tuesday's stunning last-minute decision by Fox News to wave the white flag and settle with Dominion Voting Systems for $787.5 million, rather than going through a grueling 6-week defamation trial, much of the focus is centered on how this will impact the conservative cable giant going forward. A scratch on the surface individually, this particular case, they got off cheap and easy with this settlement, Crutey's assessment. And while Dominion is now in the rearview mirror for Fox, the voting machine firm still has pending lawsuits against fringe right cable networks Newsmax and One America News, as well as Trump acolytes Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Mike Lindell, and Patrick Byrne. Smartmatic, another voting software company implicated in MAGA conspiracies of stealing the 2020 election from Trump, also has an upcoming $2.7 billion suit against Fox and the other individuals, which has been waved through for trial. And just like Dominion, Smartmatic is suing OAN and Newsmax over their election lies. Fox Corporation, the parent company of Fox News, currently has the financial strength to absorb the impact of the massive check it will cut to Dominion. Yes, they got the money. That's the sad part. This is not going to change how they operate. That is the sad part. This $800 million is not really accountability. They got off cheap and easy. But I read on from the Daily Beast. Fox Corporation, the parent company of Fox News, currently has the financial strength to absorb the impact of the massive check it will cut. The media conglomerate has a market cap of $17.3 billion and an enterprise valuation of $20.6 billion. Fox Corp CEO Lachlan Murdoch recently claimed the company has $4.1 billion cash on hand. Of course, Smartmatic is seeking nearly twice that much as Dominion did, and they might have a case. But here's the silver lining, folks. I'm going to jump ahead. Still, Fox's resources provided them the opportunity to negotiate huge settlements in these cases and attempt to sweep away the issue without any public apologies or overt admissions of guilt, all while operating as business as usual. Newsmax and OAN, however, almost certainly do not have that same luxury. No, they're going to be broke. They're going to be broken by these lawsuits. There is still the possibility of corporate bankruptcy, which could be reorganization. University of Tennessee journalism professor Stuart Brotman told the Daily Beast. You know, that's what Alex Jones is trying to do. Both channels are much smaller than Fox News and don't enjoy the large corporate backing of the conservative cable giant. Neither company is publicly traded, so it's difficult to assess their valuations. Conservative businessman Robert Herring, who launched OAN in 2013, pegged the network's value in 19 at $250 million. However, that was almost entirely due to the channel's deal with DirecTV at the time, as an accountant swore under oath at the time that OAN's value would be zero without the AT&T-backed satellite carrier. I don't know if you know this, but technically the cable companies pay stations like OAM for the right to carry them. And Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy, meanwhile, claimed his channel was worth more than $200 million in the late 2020s. This was just as the pro-Trump network was experiencing exponential audience growth thanks to its full-throated embrace of election denialism, a tactic it used to poach MAGA viewers angry with the Fox News over its Arizona call. And just like Fox News, Dominion is seeking $1.6 billion from both OAN and Newsmax, and there'll be no settlements. So it will not take down Fox News, but it may take down these other two networks. And we'll see about Smartmatic. They claim they're fighting it all the way to trial. I sure do hope so. CJ from Beaver Dam, the good CJ. Welcome, sir.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. How you been?
Hey, hope you had a good time out in Vegas, or Osh Vegas. Well, it wasn't Osh Vegas, but that's,
no, it was the real Vegas. I had
territory.
A good time. My wife and I enjoyed the show and the late nights, but what I didn't enjoy was the conference. I was underwhelmed by the NAB, so I won't go back next year.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes it's a disappointment. Other times it's a winner. Hey, I just want to say Dominion's just simply the latest porn star paid off by the Republicans.
Yeah.
And $130,000, does she think she's feeling cheated? I think so. She goes, I could have held out for a lot more.
Well, you know,
the other thing is,
you recall Trump was trying to hold out to the election. He didn't even want to pay Stormy the $130, but you go, CJ.
Yeah, I know. But the other thing I said is, I only pray that the Republican Party keeps up with their bat guano crazy. And then on top of that, do you think Clarence Thomas is going to take up the ruling on interracial marriage?
I'm not clear what Clarence Thomas will do. I mean, I think he likes his interracial marriage.
So, and lastly, the thing that's got me most agitated today is, it's funny how the FBI had this airman cornered and perp walked within 2 weeks of finding out the IP addresses. And the former buffoon is still on his sixth hole.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I don't understand that. So Jim Santel needs to answer that question, is how can we walk this perp within 2 weeks, and yet 300 documents sat at Mar-a-Lago unsupervised for 2 years?
It's an excellent question, CJ. Maybe the former, this young kid, will set the precedent for the other guy You know, the guy down at Mar-a-Lago. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. The Happier Happy Hour rolls on. More of your calls, 844-96-PARTY.
From the Devil's Advocates to the Cripes Cast with Charlie Barron.
You want a hot dog? You're not invited to my cookout that's for guests aren't sure. We're doing brats.
This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. The Supreme Court extending the temporary stay on legal challenge of the abortion drug mifepristone. That comes after a Texas judge ruled to ban the FDA-approved abortion pill nationwide. High Court ordering the administration stay until this Friday. More from ABC's Terry Moran.
What the trial court, the district court judge in Amarillo, Texas, did was something almost unheard of. Plowing through doctrines of the Supreme Court, overlooking precedents, merely to get to the point where he, sitting in Amarillo, could ban mifepristone for all women across America forever. And the extent of that ruling, the radical nature of it, I think really took people by surprise. The Fifth Circuit tried to fix some of it, but now it's before the Supreme Court, and they have to untangle the mess.
The White House and the mifepristone drug makers say the drug is safe. It's been used for abortions and miscarriages for more than 2 decades. The Dow slipped nearly 80 points. This is ABC News.
On air at 92.7 megahertz frequency modulation and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. This is Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News Radio, inviting you to join us every weekday morning from 6 to 8 a.m. Up North News is your online home for stories that are unabashedly Wisconsin. We cover the latest out of the state capital, of course, but we also celebrate this amazing state with stories about people and places, food, events, history, and more. You can find our work at our website, upnorthnewswi.com, or search for Up North News WI on social media and subscribe to our newsletter too. Then, each morning, I get you caught up on the latest headlines, plenty of weather checks, a little sports. We do a daily music break and a history lesson. We have newsmakers, insiders, community leaders, and all kinds of other guests and regulars. And we take the time to break down an issue or a story and explain it in plain English. Catch Up North News Radio weekdays 6 to 8 here on the radio, the Civic Media website, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Don't you deserve a job you love? Civic Media is preserving hometown radio, broadcasting from main streets across Wisconsin, and we're hiring radio advertising sales professionals to join our rapidly growing network of local radio stations. If you have a connection to your community, prior sales experience, and want to earn an outstanding living where you and your hard work is appreciated, you should apply right now. Find more information on our website, civicmedia.us. Click on the Careers tab.
I'm Corey Bang from Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX, and here are some events that are coming up in the area. On April 19th, go check out Madison's funniest comic that's taking place at Comedy on State. Show starts at 9 o'clock p.m. On April 20th and 23rd, go check out the famous Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth that's taking place at the UW Villas Hall Hemsley Theater. Show starts at 7:30 p.m. on April 20th and 2 o'clock p.m. on the 23rd. On April 21st and 22nd, go check out Romantic Comedy It's All Overboard that's take place at the Broome Street Theater. Show starts at 8 o'clock p.m. You also cannot forget about, on April 22nd, go check out Artemisia at the Overshire Center Playhouse. Show starts at 7:30 p.m. If you have an event you'd like us to tell others about, let me know. Email me at corey.bank@civicmedia.us and we'll tell the community about it. We're Mad Radio 92.7 WNDX.
What is dedication?
I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov.
The big and tall of political talk. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. I guess it's 420 Eve up around here, isn't it? I'm going to do a little live show on the street, State Street, specifically. Go to our friends at Knuckleheads tomorrow, one of our fine sponsors here on Mad Radio. And it's 420, and they're the State Street Head Shop, man. So I'm going to be there. They're going to have a 420 giveaway. So you got to come down. It's the 500 block of State Street. If you're in the Madison area, They got great deals. It's 420. Come on down. 844-967-2789. One quick headline, then back to the phones. Now, Fox News got off the hook on their anticipated trial. But, the former president has a civil trial of his own starting next week. And apparently, in his most recent court filings, he let the court know he wants to stay away because of the traffic. Let me read a little of this reporting. Trump's attorneys have reportedly claimed in court documents that although he would like to appear in court to face a civil defamation suit from a woman he has denied raping decades ago, he might stay away as much as possible because of traffic and related travel concerns associated with the arrival of a former president. Joseph Tacopita, if you've seen this guy, you know who he is. Joseph Tacopita, Trump's attorney, wrote to the judge that Trump was merely trying to save New Yorkers from experiencing traffic jams, blocked streets, and other nuisances that marked Trump's arraignment visit, according to the New York Times. Trump's attorney was previously scolded by the U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan on Tuesday after the lawyer reportedly asked questions about an anonymous jury. You're not supposed to do that, you jacknut. The trial is set to begin on Tuesday in U.S. District Court in Lower Manhattan, according to the New York Times report. But Mr. this is a quote from their report. But Mr. Tacopina noted that when Trump appeared in the nearby Manhattan State Supreme Court for his recent arraignment on the unrelated criminal charges, Franklin D. Roosevelt Drive was shut down for a significant period, while Mr. Trump traveled to the courthouse. Streets within a 3-block radius of the court were blocked off while he was there, and he was constantly accompanied by a dozen Secret Service agents. It continues. For Mr. Trump to appear at a federal courthouse, Mr. Tacopina told Judge Lewis A. Kaplan, his movements would need to be coordinated each day that he was present by a Secret Service advance team hours beforehand. The team would then have to develop a tactical plan. The plan would reportedly include courthouse floors being locked down and the courthouse personnel being confined to their offices, according to the New York Times. The letter purportedly asked that Trump's presence be excused unless and until he is called by either party to testify at the trial, which is expected to last about a week. Well, that starts next week, Tuesday. At least that's what we're being told. 844-967-2789. Calls up round here, lightly screened by our buddy E-Bone. You could be next. In this case, it's going to be Jack from Merrimack. How you doing, Jack?
Just peachy keen, as usual.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a good thing that at least Fox, that spelled F-A-U-X News, got some consequences from their misinterpreting our Constitution. Instead of it says free speech, and instead of that, they made it out to be free lies. And hopefully, what'll happen is this next big suit will actually hit the courts, and we'll see it spread all over the news, except of course the famous 3 channels that would be Fox News and OAN and so-called Newsmax.
Howard Kurtz is the media reporter for Fox News, in my understanding, and I didn't watch it live, but he was on Neil Cavuto's show when Fox News made this settlement, right? His employer settled, and he refused to report the amount of the settlement, which was somewhat staggering, Jack, $780 million, something like that. But he wouldn't say, and he said, unless it was independently verified. And I'm thinking, what? Suddenly Fox News got standards? And then Neil Cavuto said it was $787.5 million, I believe. Jack, isn't that funny? Guy didn't want to say on Fox News that Fox News had just settled for nearly $1 billion for not telling the truth.
Well, yeah, this is very typical of these extremist right-wingers. Double down on everything, deny everything, blame somebody else for everything. I mean, we've heard it all. We've been hearing it for at least a decade, if not longer.
Do you see what Fox News did the other day?
Not surprising.
They bought a full page ad on Monday in the New York Times, I believe. We are still the most trusted name in news. And they presented a graph where 42%, relatively speaking, in some graphic poll, they were number one in most trusted category. We are still the most trusted name in news. And they preceded that in the New York Times, and then they settled for $800 million for lying, of course.
Yes, that's Fox News, most trusted.
And then, I don't know if you heard, Jack, but they came out with a separate statement today, basically making all the same denials in the upcoming Smartmatic lawsuit.
Yep, deny. And when you can't get away with that, claim free speech. And when you can't get away with that, blame somebody else. So that's their typical approach to something like this. Yeah. I one other thing, I have to love the fact that Trump is so concerned about the traffic in New York that he doesn't want to.
No, he's a good guy.
Cause traffic jams.
Come on, who wants to inconvenience their fellow New Yorkers? He has such a great reputation there these days.
Well, to me, it's outrageous that this traitor, and that's what he is, because he very clearly conspired to try to overturn the government of the United States. There's no other term for it than treason. I guess sedition, because I guess the Russians were somewhat involved, but it's probably still just sedition. But that should be sufficient. Why he's still walking around outside of an orange jumpsuit, I have no idea.
Nor I, Jack. But you may be encouraged to find, and I believe caller Mark might have pointed this out, or Dick perhaps, Trump's legal advisor, Boris Epshteyn, next to appear before the special counsel's grand jury. It's being reported longtime advisor to Donald Trump, Boris Epshteyn, was sitting at the lawyer's table after his boss was booked into the Manhattan court. Now he's going to be sitting for special counsel Jack Smith, the New York Times reported Wednesday. Epshteyn is the second Trump lawyer to be called to answer questions, the other being Evan Cochran, who recently revealed that since he was forced to testify, he must recuse himself from the stolen documents case. It's unclear whether Epshteyn would have to be doing a lot of work during the trial for the documents case or the January 6th case, or if his purpose is as a campaign advisor. Grand jury investigations are secret, so only Epshteyn could reveal what the case is about. Mr. Epshteyn continues to assist the president. I guess that means Trump, because I know he ain't working for Biden. Mr. Epshteyn continues to assist the president in coordinating the legal efforts, including battling against witch hunts by the deranged radical Jack Smith and the weaponized woke Department of Justice. See what he did there? That, according to Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung, the news came after the Washington Post report that Epshteyn could be taking a step back among the Trump advisors. Boris Epshteyn will still work for Trump and is viewed as one of his most trusted confidants, but he's unlikely to continue to work directly with some of the outside counsel handling the pair of criminal probes into Trump's possible. Sorry, choked on that, kind of like I think it was Jake Tapper yesterday trying to read the statement from Fox News in real time. They're going to continue to uphold the highest of journalistic standards. That was their statement as they made this settlement for $800 million for lying on the air. I choked a little when I said it. Let me repeat that. Boris Epshteyn will still work for Trump and is viewed as one of his most trusted confidants, but he is unlikely to continue to work directly with some of the outside counsel handling the pair of criminal probes into Trump's possible mishandling. I know it's hard to say. Possible mishandling of classified documents at his Florida home and key aspects of the January 6, 2021 attack probe, according to these people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe private deliberations by his legal team. Epshteyn was forced to hand over his cell phone to federal agents last year for the investigations into Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election. It was seized by federal agents. Epstein, however, has not ever been cited as a target of the investigation. Well, that's good. He ain't a target, at least not yet. 844-967-2789. Did I also mention, I may not have mentioned, you find people listening right now in Radio Land all across the Civic Media Network and on KTNF in Minneapolis and WCPT 820 AM in Chicago. The debt ceiling. Finally, the Republicans have put forth their plan. Do you want to know what it is? It's a start. It's something. It's something more than nothing. Up until now, they had nothing. They had no plan. You want to hear about their plan? I think you do. House GOP, according to thehill.com, House GOP's long-awaited debt limit bill features a $1.5 trillion increase. Again, when it's the debt limit they're raising, that's money they already spent. That's just okaying money, expenditures that have already been okayed. Doesn't change future spending. It okays past spending. House Republicans go to loan debt limit bill pairs a debt ceiling increase expected to last into next year with what Speaker Kevin McCarthy said would be about a $4.5 trillion in savings generated in part by cutting Biden administration priorities. So they're going to cut the budget $4.5 trillion. Swell. The bill released on Wednesday, dubbed the Limit, Save, Grow Act. Limit, Save, Grow. It's almost, if they could have just found an M, it would damn near be a MAGA act. Aims to raise the debt limit by $1.5 trillion through March 21st, 2024, whichever comes first. So in other words, we'd do this debt limit standoff again next year because it's an election year next year. It proposes reverting discretionary spending caps to fiscal 2022 levels by limiting growth to 1% annually over the next decade. So they're going to set limits for what, the next two presidencies? While Republicans have long said discretionary spending cuts would not target defense spending, nothing in the bill explicitly protects defense spending, leaving that spending up to appropriators. The move to release a debt limit increase bill comes as President Biden has refused to negotiate with McCarthy on the matter, calling for a clean debt limit increase, not paired with any other policy points. Now that we have introduced a clear plan for responsible debt limit increase, they have no more excuse and refuse to negotiate, McCarthy said in a House speech. A clearly disingenuous House speech. Hey, E-Bone, screen them up for me, fella. 844-967-2789. We'll get to your calls in just a moment. Now that we've introduced, that's what McCarthy said, the bill is expected to get a floor vote next week, but with just a 4-vote majority, McCarthy will have to work to ensure it reaches majority support. He does not have majority support, I suspect. So they're going to bring it to the floor, and he's not going to have majority support. He'll barely have, I don't think he'll capture his entire caucus. McCarthy told reporters today that he's confident about the bill's chances of passage. Nancy Pelosi never rolled out confident. She was always, she could whip. She knew what her count was. She never chanced it. She was never rolling, hoping for a hard 8. You know what I'm saying? Nancy Pelosi knew how to govern. Kevin McCarthy, much less so. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. One last opportunity for your hot takes today. 844-967-2789. Native Roots Radio coming next, and the Empowered Caregiver soon after. But we ain't done yet. Come back, more of your calls.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using, munitions that they have purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
Weather in a Moment is brought to you by Chad's Design Build, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. Reach out today by going to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more. Again, that's chadsdesignbuild.com.
Here's your Mad Radio forecast. Cloudy tonight with scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows level off around 41. East winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Highs around 65. Cloudy skies expected. Lows around 38 tomorrow night. Cloudy Friday with highs in the upper 50s. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 41 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Still time for your contribution. Phone calls next at 844-967-2789. One quick news update. All things legal, I guess. Former Trump org CFO Alan Weisselberg is released from Rikers Island Jail. Has it been 5 months already? Let me read from the CNN briefly. Alan Weisselberg, the former chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, was released from jail on Wednesday after serving roughly 4 months for his role in a decade-long tax fraud scheme. Weisselberg, who remains loyal to former President Donald Trump, was sentenced in January to 5 months in jail as part of the plea deal, which involved him pleading guilty to 15 felonies and testifying against his former employer at the criminal tax fraud trial. Two Trump Organization entities were convicted and fined the maximum penalty, $1.6 million. Weisselberg began working for Trump's father, Fred, roughly 50 years ago, and then became a close advisor to Trump, seeing his business through bankruptcies and revivals. Weisselberg remained on leave from the company even after he was criminally charged. He was let go from the company and given a generous severance deal in January. A person familiar with the arrangement previously told CNN prosecutors from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office have pressured Weisselberg in the past, and again more recently with criminal charges, to try and gain his cooperation in investigations involving Trump. And even during the trial of the Trump entities, Weisselberg did not implicate Trump or any of his family members. Now, there's some real loyalty. 844-967-2789. I guess he did his time on Rikers. Now back to the cush lifestyle of being the Trump org CFO. Gary from Philly. Welcome, Gary. What do you got for us?
Hey, Crutey. Firstly, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the show all the way in the middle of the country. I wish we had something like that out here in Philadelphia. I listen to you guys every day.
Gary, I wish I knew you when I was last in Philly, man. We partied our ass off. That town parties. I like Philly.
Well, I think you would have been terrific here, except for me. I'm sober, so.
Oh, fair enough. You could have been our designated driver, Gary.
Well, in that case, you would have been in total luck.
Yes, sir.
In any event, in response to your question, how do you feel about the decision yesterday? Actually, yes, the way I feel is that I'm angry at the choice that Dominion made from the point of view of America as a whole.
Sure.
And that is that it says once again to me that you're guilty in America until you come up with enough money to negotiate your innocence. And that seems to be the way it...
Or buy silence or pay off the victim or whatever the case may be. That's how the rich and powerful have done it since the beginning of time, Gary. And then, depending on what your faith is, you even buy your way into heaven, don't you?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But I found it incredibly frustrating. And since the media, MSNBC, which is the station I generally watch, was, talking about this case for at least 2 months, and just about everyone else, all media was talking about this case. For me, at least, it became an even bigger disappointment because at some point I actually want to believe that things are fair here, and they are not. And we get to see that once again with this case. You know, we've watched Trump buy himself freedom. We're now watching, another organization, probably I think the most dangerous organization in the world as far as democracy is concerned, buy themselves the appearance of innocence. And it is just killing me that this is what we have. And that's all I got for you today.
Gary, you know what the good news is? And I got a question for you, but let me make one quick statement. The good news is we still had the discovery. We still know what was said by everyone from Sean Hannity. Tucker Carlson literally hated Trump. Rupert Murdoch admitted effectively they're only serving their own greed through Fox News. Now, will that break through to the MAGA-loving Fox News viewer? Probably not, because they're not going to report it on Fox News, just as how it occurs.
Exactly.
But, you still got to hope that the independents, the thoughtful people, those that would have turned once upon a time to Fox News for a counterbalanced news report, they're not going to turn there anymore. I would hope those that are paying attention are going to turn away from Fox. Certainly you would hope the sponsors would, but you know what? Life ain't fair, man. I'm not holding my breath, Gary.
No, and I don't think that you can hold your breath or it's important to hold your breath. I'm just saying that it was incredibly disappointing to see it in one more time.
I call it utterly disappointing. Gary, let me ask you, I've heard rumors, John Fetterman, your recently elected senator, who then had checked in for depression and very courageous to go public with that. He also dropped a little video on his Twitter stream the other day. Basically, he admitted there's a body double, and it was tongue in cheek. It was humorous, but it was like two John Fettermans, like, where am I supposed to be today? Oh no, where am I supposed to be?
Right.
Like he's got the body double, so I appreciate a sense of humor. Is it concerning at all to Pennsylvanians that your senator hasn't really served yet?
I think it's mostly concerning from the point of view of votes. Those people who really, in my opinion, those people who are really behind Fetterman, I think will not waver. I think that they were actually, just like you, taken by the humanity of the man, which is what got him into office in the first place. This is a guy who strolls around in shorts and a hoodie and really represents the people. And that we felt, and I feel, is a truly unusual place to be. He put himself out there pretty much all the time, talking to the people, being with the people, unlike Bob Casey, who I hardly ever see of, and he tends to fall into the traditional senatorial, milieu of not approaching us until there's an election. So,
well, the good news, Gary, is that only comes every 6 years on the Senate side, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're talking about the governor, though. I'm sorry.
I will always be happy.
Is Casey's your other senator? I'm thinking of J.D. Vance from Ohio, another despicable
No, I'm
creature.
talking about Casey. Yeah.
Gary, I got to spend more time
Democrat, but he's a completely different Democrat than Fetterman.
Yeah.
From the point of view of the way that he presents.
Gary, I got to spend more time in
I don't want to
Pennsylvania.
hold up the other guys, so sorry?
I got to spend more time in Pennsylvania, man. I hear it's like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and it's the vast in between. And it's from the vast in between.
Kentucky.
Well,
George Lincoln Rockwell lived here.
Gary, you know who else lives in that part of the state? Our friend Rick Smith. Rick Smith lives in your state, Gary. Rick Smith of the Rick Smith Show plays out across the Civic Media Network live each and every night. And we kind of do this upper Midwest thing, kind of a Big Ten thing. Pennsylvania's got the Penn State. We got the better team, the Badgers, in my humble opinion. Doesn't always hold up on the scoreboard. But our friend Rick Smith is part of the lineup here at Civic Media, and we appreciate what he's doing because he is representing a part of the upper Midwest, part of the rural upper Midwest and labor-centric upper Midwest that sometimes Sometimes, Democrats forget. Don't forget. Keep it locked right here to Civic Media. We got Native Roots Radio next. The Empowered Caregivers at 7 o'clock with Kristen Voss and Liza Hellenbrand. And then Rick Smith live from Pennsylvania, 8 to 10. Always keep it locked.
No Wisconsin resident should ever have to be without heat, water, or power. The Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance